Hello and welcome to Insurance World TV, your online insurance media partner. Here, knowledge meets coverage. Join us on a journey of understanding, empowerment, and securing your financial future. Let's decode the complexities of insurance together. Talking about insurance knowledge, our topic for today is Strict Liability Clause. What is it, and how does it apply? Before we proceed, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and click on the notification bell. Al's visit our website at www.insuranceworldtv.co.ke and our social media pages Twitter at InsureWorldTV, TikTok.InsuranceWorldTV, Instagram at InsuranceWorldTV, and Facebook at InsuranceWorldTV. Ever wondered what a strict liability clause in insurance is? Well, let's break it down. A strict liability clause is a legal provision that holds a person or persons liable for damages or injuries caused by their actions or products, regardless of who is at fault or regardless of the intention of the act. In other words, strict liability means that a person or entity can be held responsible for harm caused, even if they did not intend to cause harm or were not negligent in their actions. This concept is often applied in product liability cases where manufacturers can be held strictly liable for defects in their products that cause harm to consumers. This type of liability is contrasted with liability based on fault or negligence, where a party is only held liable if they acted recklessly or negligently. The term strict liability might sound intimidating, but it's essentially a legal principle that holds people accountable for the consequences of their actions, whether intentional or not. In the context of insurance, it's a clause that can be quite significant. Here's the gist of it. Strict liability is a circumstance under which an insured party is held legally responsible for damages or injuries regardless of fault or negligence. Imagine you're involved in an activity that unintentionally results in injury or damage. Even though you didn't mean for it to happen, under a strict liability clause, you could still be held accountable. Why? Because the principle of strict liability is all about responsibility. It's less about intent and more about the fact that the incident occurred in the first place. So, to put it simply, if you are involved in an activity that results in injury or damage, you could be held strictly liable, even if you didn't mean for the incident to happen. Now you might be asking yourself, how does strict liability actually work in reality? Well, let's break it down. Strict liability is a legal principle that comes into play in circumstances involving inherently dangerous activities or defective products. Now this might sound a bit complicated, but it's actually pretty straightforward. Imagine you're involved in an activity that's considered inherently dangerous, or you've purchased a product that turns out to be defective and causes harm. In these situations, the injured party, that's potentially you, only needs to prove two things. First, that an injury actually occurred, and second, that the defendant, the person or company being sued, was responsible for the activity or product that led to the injury. And here's the kicker. Proving negligence or fault isn't necessary under strict liability. In essence, it's all about the injury and the defendant's connection to it. In essence, proving negligence or fault is not necessary under strict liability. The mere fact of the injury and the defendant's connection to it is enough. In insurance, a strict liability clause is a provision within an insurance policy that specifies coverage for claims arising from situations where the insured party is held liable regardless of fault or negligence. This means that the insurance policy will provide coverage for damages or losses incurred by third parties, even if the insured party did not intentionally cause harm or was not negligent. Strict liability clauses in insurance policies are often used in situations where the risk of harm is inherent or where statutory or regulatory requirements impose strict liability on certain activities or industries. Some common circumstances where strict liability clauses may be used include product liability. Manufacturers, distributors, and sellers of products may be subject to strict liability for injuries or damages caused by defects in their products. Insurance policies for these businesses often include strict liability coverage to protect against claims arising from product-related injuries or property damage. Hazardous activities. Industries or businesses engaged in hazardous activities such as construction, transportation of hazardous materials, or handling of explosives may be subject to strict liability for damages or injuries resulting from accidents. Insurance policies for these activities typically include strict liability coverage to mitigate the financial risks associated with such operations. Environmental liability. Companies involved in activities that pose environmental risks, such as waste management, chemical manufacturing, or oil and gas exploration, may face strict liability for environmental damages or pollution incidents. Insurance policies may include strict liability coverage for environmental liabilities to address potential claims arising from these activities. Animal ownership. Owners of animals such as dogs or livestock may be subject to strict liability for injuries or damages caused by their animals, particularly in cases involving attacks or bites. Insurance policies for animal owners may include strict liability coverage to protect against liability claims arising from animal-related incidents. Overall, strict liability clauses in insurance policies help insured parties manage the financial risks associated with potential liability claims arising from activities or situations where fault or negligence may not be relevant factors. Well, the impact of a strict liability clause on your insurance can be quite significant. If you, the insured party, are found to be strictly liable for an incident, your insurance company may be required to foot the bill for the damages. Just imagine a situation where you're held strictly liable for something that happened, and your insurance company has to shell out a substantial amount for it. By understanding the terms and conditions of your insurance policy, especially the parts relating to strict liability, you can navigate these potentially choppy waters with more confidence. Remember, when it comes to insurance, knowledge is power. Understanding strict liability can help you navigate the complex world of insurance and potentially save you from unexpected costs.